Ladies, let's get real for a minute. Relationships aren't just about butterflies, cute texts, or Instagram perfect moments. No, they're about understanding the unspoken dynamics that happen behind the scenes, the silent tests, the little patterns, the subtle ways men gauge who you really are. Men don't always tell you what they're thinking, and sometimes they don't even realize they're testing you. But make no mistake, every action, every pause, every reaction you give sends a message. And if you don't know how to navigate these tests, you might unknowingly push him away, or worse, lose your own sense of self in the process. Here's the thing. Men are wired to observe more than they verbalize. They watch how you handle silence, how you set boundaries, how you react under pressure, how you prioritize yourself, and how consistently you hold your worth over time. Every man you meet is looking for a woman who isn't just attractive, but unshakable. He's looking for someone who doesn't bend, break, or compromise her value just to keep him close. This isn't about playing games or manipulating anyone. It's about understanding the psychology of men and mastering your own energy. When you learn how to pass these unspoken tests, you stop reacting out of fear or insecurity, and you start responding with confidence, self-respect, and clarity. You stop chasing validation and start commanding respect. In this speech, we're going to break down key challenges men give, often without saying a word, and I'm going to show you exactly how to pass each one, so you can protect your worth, elevate your energy, and attract the right man without losing yourself in the process. The silent test. What does she do when I G-E-T quiet? Ladies, if there's one test men give more than any other, it's the silent test, because silence is a man's natural language. Men don't sit around expressing every emotion the way women do. They don't always talk things out. They don't give long explanations. Instead, they retreat into themselves, into their thoughts, into their worries, into their own private world. And this quiet space he goes into, that's where the test lives. It's not a test designed to punish you. It's a test designed to understand you. When a man suddenly goes quiet, it's not always because he's losing interest. A lot of times it's because he's processing something. Men process in solitude the same way women process in conversation. But here's the thing. Men watch very closely what you do when they withdraw. Your reaction speaks louder than every word you could say. If you panic, he sees it. If you get insecure, he feels it. If you accuse him, he absorbs it. And if you stay grounded, he respects it. Because the silent test isn't about your words at all. It's about your emotional stability when things aren't going your way. A man's silence is often him checking without asking, can she hold her own? Can she handle uncertainty? Will she crumble if I get distant for a moment? Men want to know if you're mature enough to give them space without jumping to conclusions. This doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It means you understand the difference between a man taking a moment for himself and a man intentionally hurting you. A man who is simply quiet isn't disrespecting you. He's thinking, he's regrouping, he's trying to come back to you whole. And the woman who passes this test is the one who doesn't take it personally. Women who fail this test usually do the same thing. They blow up his phone, demand attention, start imagining scenarios, or let anxiety push them into emotional chaos. Suddenly, silence becomes a threat. And once you react from fear, you shift the energy. Now he feels pressure instead of peace. He doesn't want to open up. He wants to escape. He doesn't feel inspired. He feels overwhelmed. When a man's silence leads to your emotional explosion, he learns that you can't handle the natural ebb and flow of connection. And trust me, every connection has an ebb and flow. Passing the silent test requires self-control, confidence, and a strong sense of identity. You've got to know who you are when he's talking and who you are when he's not. You show strength by staying calm, staying focused on your life, and staying emotionally regulated. You give him space without guilt tripping him. You let him breathe without turning it into a drama. because a woman who can stay calm during a man's quiet moments becomes unforgettable. Silence doesn't scare her. It doesn't shake her. It doesn't make her beg. It simply gives her time to continue living her life, not waiting for him to validate it. See, a mature woman understands something powerful. A man's silence is not her responsibility. Her reaction is. She doesn't chase clarity that a man isn't ready to give. She doesn't interrogate him for answers he hasn't formed yet. She doesn't allow insecurity to rewrite the narrative. Instead, she trusts the energy between them. She trusts the rhythm, and more importantly, she trusts herself. Because women who are rooted in their worth don't crumble at the first sign of uncertainty. They stay steady. They stay soft but strong. They stay gracious but grounded. When a man eventually comes out of his silent shell, and he always does, he pays attention to how you handled those moments. Did you stay normal? Did you respect his space? Did you avoid assumptions? Did you stay emotionally consistent? If the answer is yes, he sees you differently. Suddenly, you're not just another woman. You're a woman he feels safe with. You're a woman whose emotional world doesn't collapse when he needs a minute. You're a woman who isn't driven by fear, but by understanding. And that right there is why men test with silence. They want a partner who won't drown them in emotional waves the moment something shifts. They want someone who can handle the storm without becoming one. They want to know that when life gets busy, overwhelming, or confusing, they can retreat for a moment without losing the relationship. Your calmness becomes comfort. Your stability becomes security. Your confidence becomes attractive. So when a man goes silent, don't lose yourself. Don't overthink. Don't chase. Don't assume the worst. Use the silence to show exactly why you're different. Show him that your world keeps moving. Show him that you trust the connection. Show him that you can handle silence with grace, not fear. Because the woman who doesn't get shaken by a man's quiet, she passes the test every time. The boundary test. How far can I go before she speaks up? Every man alive, whether consciously or unconsciously, will test the boundaries of the woman he's dealing with. Not because he wants to break her, disrespect her, or push her away. No. A man tests boundaries because he wants to understand what kind of woman he's dealing with. He wants to know how she carries herself, what she stands for, what she accepts, and what she absolutely refuses to tolerate. A man studies your boundaries to determine how he should treat you, because a man will always follow the rules you set for him, whether those rules are intentional or accidental. When a man first meets you, he pays attention to how you react to certain behaviors. If he's late, do you call it out or do you brush it off? If he cancels plans last minute, do you check him respectfully or do you act like it's no big deal? If he gives you half effort, do you reward it or reject it? He's not testing you to play games. He's checking to see what standard he needs to operate at. Men are pattern driven. If you let something slide once, he assumes it's okay forever. If you allow disrespect, he mentally files it under acceptable. If you ignore disrespectful behavior, he assumes you're not a woman who requires more. What women don't always realize is that boundary setting isn't about being rude, controlling, or dramatic. It's about showing a man how to love you properly. A man cannot love you the way you deserve if he doesn't know what you deserve. And he cannot know what your standards are if you don't speak up when those standards are crossed. Boundaries are not walls. They are guidelines. They are the instructions for how you want to be treated, valued, spoken to, and respected. The problem is, many women think being easygoing or chill will make a man like them more. They think staying quiet will keep the peace. They think tolerating the bare minimum will eventually lead to the maximum. But the truth is, silence doesn't bring peace. It brings confusion. Ignoring bad behavior doesn't make a man love you more. It makes him respect you less. When a woman refuses to speak up, a man doesn't think she's so understanding. He thinks She'll tolerate anything. That's exactly when he stops trying. That's exactly when he gets too comfortable. That's exactly when he starts giving you less and expecting you to accept it. To pass the boundary test, you have to speak up the moment something feels off. Not angrily, not emotionally, not with accusations, just with clarity. A calm and confident woman is a man's biggest wake you. Call. When you look a man in the eye and say, this doesn't work for me, he listens. When you say, I don't accept this behavior, he adjusts. When you say, I need consistency, he decides whether to step up or step out. And trust me, if he steps out, it's a blessing, because the man who runs from your standards is not the man who could ever uphold them. Women often fear setting boundaries because they think it'll push a man away. But here's the truth. The right boundary eliminates the wrong man and elevates the right one. A man with genuine intentions actually loves a woman with boundaries. He feels safer with her. He knows where he stands. He knows how to show up. He knows what's expected. When you teach him how to treat you, you're not being demanding, you being wise. A man also watches how you set your boundaries. If you throw a tantrum, he stops listening. If you attack him, he gets defensive. But if you calmly state your needs with self-respect, he hears you. Men respect clarity. Men respect firmness. Men respect a woman who respects herself. He may act confused, frustrated, or surprised at first, but deep down, he admires it, because any man who wants something real knows that the foundation of a healthy relationship is respect, and respect comes from standards. And here's something most women don't realize. A man will never give you more than what you demand from yourself. If you accept low effort from yourself, he'll match that. If you prioritize others before your well-being, he'll mirror it. If your boundaries are shaky, his behavior will be shaky too. The boundary test isn't just him testing you. It's you showing him how deeply you value yourself. When you speak up, you set the tone. You let him know you're not a woman who gets walked over. You're not a woman who begs for respect. You're not a woman who tolerates the bare minimum. You are a woman who requires effort. You are a woman who commands consistency. You are a woman who expects accountability. And let me tell you, when a man realizes he's dealing with a woman like that, he behaves differently. He becomes more intentional. He becomes more careful. He becomes more thoughtful, because he knows he can't afford to lose a woman who respects herself enough to set boundaries and strong enough to enforce them. The value test, IS, she, who she says she, us. Every man, whether he admits it or not, wants to know if the woman he's interested in is genuinely who she presents herself to be. Men listen to your words, but they study your actions. They take note of your promises, but they pay even closer attention to your patterns, because any woman can say she's high value. But a man wants to see if her behavior confirms that or contradicts it. This is what I call the value test. A man silently observing whether you are truly the woman your confidence, your boundaries, and your energy claim you are. A man will watch how you handle yourself, when he's giving you attention and when he's not. He'll notice how you act when he's consistent and when he's unpredictable. He pays attention to how you treat yourself when he's around and when he isn't. Because the truth is, a man doesn't fall for what you tell him you deserve. He falls for how you show him you deserve it. Value isn't what you talk about. Value is how you move. If you tell a man you don't tolerate disrespect, but you stay quiet when he disrespects your time, he sees it. If you say you're independent, but you lose your entire emotional balance the moment he steps back, he notices. If you say you're not like other women, but you accept the bare minimum like every other woman he's met, he understands something important. You talk value, but you don't live it. A man is constantly checking for alignment. He wants T. Oh, no, if your words and actions match. He wants to know if your character is real or if you only perform it when you want to impress him. A high-value woman doesn't just act strong. She is strong. She doesn't just look confident, she embodies confidence. She doesn't just say she knows her worth. She shows it without needing to announce it. That's what men test for, authenticity. And ladies, here's the truth. A lot of people won't tell you, men have a radar for inconsistency. A man may not be emotional like you, but he is observant. He notices the little things. He notices how you behave with your friends, how you treat yourself, how you respond to pressure, how you handle disappointment. If your energy shifts drastically depending on how he treats you in the moment, he understands you're not as secure as you seem. But if you remain grounded, whether he's giving 10% or 100%, he sees a woman who's emotionally mature and strong within herself. The value test also shows up in how you handle temptation and attention from other men, not because he wants to control you, but because he wants to know if you're loyal to who you are, not just loyal to him. When you carry yourself with integrity, no matter who's watching, it proves your value has nothing to do with external validation. A man is deeply attracted to a woman who can stay true to her standards without needing applause. Another part of the value test is how you treat yourself in the relationship. Men want to see if you still prioritize your own goals, your own happiness, your own health, and your own peace. When a woman sacrifices everything she is just to keep a man, he no longer sees her as high value. He sees someone who's dependent, someone who's insecure, someone who doesn't believe she deserves more. But when a woman keeps her identity strong, when she keeps her own world intact, that's when a man fully respects her. Value is not measured by how much of yourself you give up, but by how much of yourself you keep. Men also test your emotional consistency. A woman who is stable, steady, and thoughtful under pressure stands out from every woman who reacts emotionally and impulsively. A man needs to see how you handle conflict, disappointment, and misunderstandings. Do you communicate calmly or do you explode? Do you ask for clarity or do you assume the worst? Do you stay composed or do you let your fears guide your behavior? A high-value woman communicates her needs with self-respect, not desperation. And that is powerful. A man will even watch how you speak about yourself. If you talk down on your own life, your own beauty, your own worth, he sees insecurity. But if you speak with gratitude, confidence, and self-awareness, he sees a woman who is whole, not seeking completion from a man. Ultimately, the value test is simple. A man wants to know if you are the same woman in private, in public, in pressure, and in peace. He wants to know if he can trust your character, not just your charm. He wants to know if your value is rooted or if it's fragile. And you pass this test not by trying to impress him, but by being who you truly are, consistently, confidently, and unapologetically. A man respects a woman who is real, grounded, and aligned with her own worth. And when he sees that, he knows he's dealing with someone rare. The emotion test, how does she react under pressure? Every man at some point will pay close attention to how a woman handles emotional pressure. Not because he wants to frustrate her or trigger her, but because a man knows one truth. Relationships aren't built on the good days. They're built on the moments when things get confusing, stressful, disappointing, or uncertain. A man wants to know how you respond when the situation isn't ideal, when the emotions are high, when expectations aren't met, or when something doesn't go your way. Because the way you react under pressure reveals far more about your character than the words you say during calm moments. Men observe emotional responses with great precision. They notice whether you stay grounded or whether you lose control. They see if you communicate or if you explode. They look at how you express feelings, not just what you feel, because feelings themselves are never the issue. How you handle them is the real test. A man wants emotional honesty, but he also wants emotional maturity. He wants to see if you can navigate hard moments without letting the moment define you. When pressure hits, some women react impulsively, saying things they don't mean, making assumptions, accusing, or jumping to conclusions. A man pays close attention to that, not because he expects perfection, but because impulsive reactions make him feel unsafe. Men aren't wired to respond to chaos. They shut down around emotional storms. They withdraw when the energy feels explosive. They protect themselves from environments that feel unpredictable. So the way you handle emotional pressure either draws him closer or pushes him away. This test shows up when plans fall through, when communication slows down, when something feels off, or when he needs space. A mature woman handles those moments with grace, clarity, and patience. She doesn't demand instant explanations. She doesn't rush into assumptions. She doesn't make it about her worth. She pauses, she observes, she gathers information, and she communicates from a place of strength, not fear. A man sees that and feels inspired to rise to her level. But a woman who panics under pressure often reveals wounds she hasn't healed. She may overthink, overreact, or catastrophize. And when she does, the man isn't judging her pain, he's observing. Whether the relationship can survive her emotional instability. Men don't run from emotion, but they do run from emotional unpredictability. A woman who handles stress with calmness becomes a safe place. A woman who turns pressure into explosions becomes a risk. What men admire most is emotional regulation, the ability to feel deeply without letting the feelings control the entire situation. When you can say, I'm upset, but I'm not going to lash out, that's maturity. When you can ask questions instead of throwing accusations, that's wisdom. When you can give yourself time to process before responding, that's strength. Men notice these things. They value the woman who knows how to slow herself down before she lets emotions take the wheel. This test isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about expressing them responsibly. There's a difference between saying, I felt hurt when you didn't follow through versus you don't care about me at all. One is emotional clarity. The other is emotional projection. One invites connection. The other creates distance. And a man can see instantly which one you're rooted in. Another part of the emotion test is whether you can handle disagreement without seeing it as rejection. Many women take conflict personally. They think a disagreement means the relationship is crumbling. But a man wants to know if you can handle a different point of view, if you can discuss hard topics without spiraling, if you can respect his feelings even when they don't match your own. That ability to stay steady in the middle of misunderstanding is rare. Men are also checking how you respond to your own stress. Do you lash out or do you communicate? Do you shut down or do you explain? Do you allow pressure to make you cold, clingy, or chaotic? Or do you remain self-aware and grounded? A woman who can handle her emotions well becomes a partner, not a responsibility. And finally, the emotion test reveals whether you are reacting from fear or from confidence. Fear-driven reactions sound like desperation, insecurity, or anger. Confidence-driven reactions sound like patience, curiosity, and self-control. A man can feel the difference without you saying a single word. Passing the emotion test doesn't mean never getting upset. It means refusing to let temporary emotions create permanent damage. It means staying true to your values even when you're triggered. It means showing him that you can be trusted not only with love, but with conflict, silence, pressure, and the unexpected. A woman who can regulate her emotions under pressure becomes unforgettable. She becomes safe in a world full of instability. She becomes peaceful in a world full of chaos. And most importantly, she becomes a woman a man knows he can build something real with. The priority test. Does she choose herself or does she lose herself? Every man, sooner or later, pays attention to one major thing. Does this woman still prioritize her own life, or does she abandon everything the moment she likes me? This is one of the biggest silent tests a man will ever give, the priority test. And he won't announce it. He won't ask you directly. He'll simply observe how you move when your emotions get involved. Because the truth is, a man can tell a lot about a woman by how she treats her own life once he enters the picture. Men are naturally drawn to women who have a full, balanced, self-respecting life, a woman who has goals, a woman who has routines, a woman who has friends, passions, boundaries, and commitments she doesn't drop just because a man shows interest. That kind of woman communicates value without having to say a word. She sends a message loud and clear. My life is full and I welcome you, but I will not shrink myself to fit you. This is energy that commands a man's respect. But when a woman falls too fast, attaches too quickly, or rearranges her entire world for him immediately, a man notices that too, and not in a good way. When she stops hanging out with her friends, stops investing in her goals, stops taking care of her own needs just to make more space for him, he doesn't think, wow, she really cares about me. No, he thinks she loses herself easily. She needs me more than she needs her own life. That energy doesn't attract a man. It overwhelms him. It pressures him. It makes him feel responsible for her happiness. And that is a role no man wants to play. The priority test shows up subtly. Maybe he gets busy and you instantly make yourself available the moment he calls. Maybe he pulls back a little and you cancel your plans just to chase reassurance. Maybe he hints at wanting to see you and you drop everything like your own life doesn't matter. A man sees that. And what he sees is that your world revolves around him. And that makes him question your emotional strength, your independence, and your long-term potential. A woman who chooses herself isn't selfish. She's grounded. When she likes a man, she doesn't lose her identity in the process. She continues doing the things that make her her. She still operates in her routines. She still nurtures her relationships. She still takes care of her body, her purpose, and her dreams. A woman like that makes a man want to earn a place in her life instead of assuming he automatically gets one. Men are built to pursue, but they only pursue what feels emotionally and mentally strong. A woman who chooses herself sends a message that she's not afraid to lose a man because she never loses herself. That kind of woman challenges him, not in an argumentative way, but in a step up if you want to walk with me way. That energy inspires men. It motivates them. It makes them show up consistently. The priority test also reveals how balanced you are emotionally. If you pour everything into him, he knows you'll eventually blame him if he can't match that intensity. If you center your entire life on his attention, he knows you're relying on him for validation, not connection. But if you continue pouring into yourself, your ambitions, your hobbies, your peace, he sees a woman who loves from abundance, not desperation. Another thing men look at is how you protect your well-being. Some women tolerate disrespect, inconsistency, or half effort because they don't want to lose the man. They prioritize keeping him over keeping themselves. But when a woman clearly chooses her peace over drama, her value over attachment, her standards over excitement, a man instantly understands he's dealing with someone rare. He sees that she isn't afraid to walk away from anything that doesn't honor her. Men admire women who don't negotiate their self-respect. They admire women who don't abandon their identity in the name of love. They admire women who stay rooted in themselves, even when they're deeply in love or emotionally invested. That tells him he can trust her long term, because a woman who doesn't lose herself won't expect him to be her entire world. And that creates space for a healthier, more balanced relationship. The priority test also reveals whether you love from a place of need or from a place of choice. When a woman needs a man for her sense of self, it suffocates him. But when she chooses him while still choosing herself, that's when he feels honored. That's when he respects her. That's when he sees her as a partner, not a responsibility. In the end, a man isn't just watching how you treat him. He's watching how you treat you. He's watching whether your life gets smaller or bigger once he enters it. He's watching. Whether you cling or whether you stand tall, he's watching whether you lose your identity or whether you strengthen it. Because the way you prioritize yourself tells him exactly what kind of woman you are and whether he can build something real with you. The long game test. Can she hold her worth over time? See, ladies, this last test right here. This is the one that separates the temporary from the timeless. The long game test ain't about how you act today or this week or when everything is sweet. No, this one is about consistency. A man watches how you carry yourself over time, because anybody can be impressive for a moment. Anybody can act confident for a month. Anybody can pretend they got standards in the beginning. But a woman who truly knows her worth, she don't just show it on the first date. She shows it on day 100, day 300, year after year. And that is the test most women fail, not because they aren't worthy, but because they get tired, impatient, or emotionally worn out and start negotiating with the very standards that once made that man respect them. Let me tell you something, Steve Harvey style. Men don't fall for the woman who shines the brightest on day one. They fall for the woman who shines the longest without dimming her light just to keep him comfortable. That's the long game test right there. He wants to know, is this who you really are, or is this just a good performance? Because the truth is, time is the most honest revealer of character. A man can be fooled by charm, beauty, or a flawless first impression. But time strips the truth out of everybody. This test usually shows up in patterns. A man will observe you when the excitement fades and the real rhythm of the relationship begins. He'll watch what happens when he's not giving you butterflies every day. He'll watch how you behave when life settles, when the chemistry isn't doing all the work anymore, when the relationship requires patience, communication, and consistency. He wants to see if those standards you bragged about remain intact when emotions get involved. He wants to see if that confidence you showed on the first date is still there after you've caught feelings. Because a lot of women start strong, but end up watering themselves down in the name of keeping the peace, not losing him or being understanding. A man will test your long game through time gaps, through slow updates, through changes in his tone, through little shifts in effort. Not because he's trying to be manipulative. Most of the time, he doesn't even realize he's doing it. But a man's natural instinct is to see who you really are when he's not giving you his A game every single day. He wants to know whether you can stay grounded in your worth without his validation. He wants to know whether you can hold your standards without turning them into threats or ultimatums. He wants to know if your identity is rooted in him or in yourself. Because the truth is, men are drawn to the woman who shows emotional endurance, not the one who reacts, not the one who panics, not the one who sacrifices herself just to keep the energy alive. He's observing whether you maintain your pace, not rush it, not chase it, not force it. Whether you continue to be the woman you were before he entered your life, whether you stick to your boundaries even after you love him, whether you prioritize your goals, your growth, and your responsibilities, even when the relationship is getting serious. The long game test is also about integrity. A man will pay close attention to whether your words and actions align over time. You can say you're independent, but does your life reflect that when you're emotional? You can say you're not going to tolerate disrespect, but do you enforce that even when it hurts? You can say you want a mature connection, but do you operate in maturity when conflict happens? Time reveals all of that. And here's the biggest piece. Men deeply respect consistency because it's rare. Men know how easy it is for people to get lazy, to settle, to start taking the relationship for granted. But when he sees that you show up with the same energy you started with, self-respect, standards, emotional balance, and personal goals, that's when he says, she's real, she's solid, she's built for the long run. Women who pass the long game test don't rush the relationship timeline. They let things unfold naturally. They don't fall apart when things slow down. They don't beg for reassurance. They don't compromise their character. They keep showing up for themselves, and that's what makes a man keep showing up for them. A strong woman knows that her value doesn't increase or decrease based on a man's temporary behavior. She lives in a state of inner stability. And that stability is exactly what makes her unforgettable. Because when a man realizes that you are consistent, stable, emotionally mature, self-respecting, and grounded over time, he understands that you are not just a moment. You are a woman worth investing in. And that's the long game test. Can you stay true to yourself no matter how long it takes? Ladies, let me leave you with this right here, something straight from the heart and seasoned with truth. Every man you meet is going to test you in some way, not because he wants to play games, but because he wants to understand who you truly are beneath the surface. Men don't respond to pressure, but they absolutely respond to consistency. They watch how you treat yourself, how you hold your standards, how you react when things shift, slow down, or get complicated. They're studying your strength, your self-respect, and your emotional balance far more than they ever study your beauty. And here's the reality. Most people never tell you you pass every test by choosing you first. Not in a selfish way, but in a self-honoring way. You pass by keeping your identity, your values, your voice, and your boundaries intact, even when you care about him. You pass by understanding that a good man isn't looking for a perfect woman. He's looking for a woman who stands firm in who she is, a woman who doesn't fold under pressure, a woman who doesn't abandon herself to prove her worth, a woman who knows she is the prize because she lives like the prize. If a man is meant for you, he will meet you at the level of the standards you set, not the standards you abandon to keep him. The right man will not punish you for having boundaries. He will respect you more for them. He won't run from your strength. He'll rise to meet it. He won't test you to break you. He'll test you to understand you. So keep your head high, your heart steady, and your worth untouchable, because the woman who knows who she is wins every test without even trying.